Series up. Action.
Welcome to In the Green Room. I'm Kinga.
And I'm Chet.
And this is Martin. Welcome everybody.
We have a very fun guest in the green room today. Why don't you introduce him?
The one and only Kevin Ray.
I don't know if it's one and only, right? I think we determined that
there's more Kevin Ray.
3 or 4 and onlys. I don't know.
He's an imposter race car driver.
Right. NASCAR driver, country singer.
But the only one who does announcing for the Suns in the halftime show. So it's very cool that you're in the green room with us today.
I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, so how do you think the Suns are going to be this season?
I think they're going to be fantastic. They're bringing back pretty much the same roster, save for a couple of new faces that won, a league best 64 games last year. And season didn't end the way that any of us would have liked, but that being said, you've got, a great, young, talented core, so I look for them to have another great year.
Yeah, that lost to Dallas.
What happened? Why did they lose?
That is the
big question.
That is the $1 million question, the $10 million question. There's been a few players who have remarked and commented. Actually, did a podcast a couple of weeks ago. Bismack Biyombo was one of the guests as well, and as you would, expect, he was asked by the host, "So, Izzy, what happened?" And the general consensus from the 2 or 3 guys that I've heard from is just like they picked 2 bad games to have 2 bad games.
Right.
I guess that it's the best way to sum it up. And look, give credit to the Dallas Mavericks. They were playing extremely well. And you can see what confidence and really high level confidence can do to a team. And I know we saw that with each kind of victory. Dallas just got a little more confident. It built up, and
the momentum factor is huge.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And we can sit here, fans can sit here and say, I'm not buying it. Look, sometimes there's no what we deem logical explanation for things like that, but it's sports. It's just unfortunate that the Suns are going to have to kind of wear that coat of shame, if you will, for a while. So
yeah, because that was one of the worst single losses I've seen in a while. But their whole season they were looking so hot, so it really was just a bad game.
It was, and game 6 too. They did not, and that's what was kind of. I guess a foreshadowing of things to come. We watched them kind of fall apart in Game 6, but everybody just assumes that you got Game 7 at home and it'll just magically take care of itself, and that's not the case. Home court can make a difference, but I thought Mikal Bridges also made a great comment about Game 7, which is you have that pressure of being at home in front of your home fans. There's so much, again, an assumption on the fans' part that we're home, we're going to win because we've won, all of our home games this year, by a significant margin. And the problem is when you start playing poorly in Game 7 at home. Mikal said it. He's like, man, you hear it's so quiet, but you hear the fans gasp and groan with every miss. And yes, they're professional athletes, but that starts kind
of course it does.
Wearing on a little bit. So
I had a lot of, I did a lot of betting because my friend Jerry, he was so sure, and so
if the police
I lost a lot of money.
No money involved. No, this is monopoly money. If the cops are listening.
Sports betting is actually now legal here, so yeah, you're fine.
Fully legal, so.
I went to Amsterdam and looked both ways. All right, come on, man.
Betting on FanDuel, hopefully, the Suns' sportsbook of choice. So,
how do you feel about the fact that we didn't end up getting Durant here? I actually think it's kind of a blessing in disguise because if you look at it, he's been kind of a thorn in some of these teams' side. The way he's such a diva, I feel
Diva,
like
we're drinking divas.
Hey, wait, what are the odds?
So here's
Shout out to
Pillsbury wine. A local
the diva.
Some weird alignment right there.
Look, you can't deny that Kevin Durant is one of the top 5-6 players in the NBA.
Yeah, one of the best scorers ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the diva.
And look, I hear what you're saying. I kind of took the approach like, look, if you get him, I mean, again, he's one of the most talented players in the league. But I wasn't crushed, and it's not to say that something might still not happen down the line. But I wasn't crushed because the Suns, didn't go out and give up 3 or 4 players in anticipation of getting him. Going back to my previous statement, you've got 90% of your roster that won 64 games last year coming back this year. And they're a year older.
So that chemistry will still be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even with, the little hiccup with DA's contract and everything, look, at the end of the day, our boy got his bag. And
a big one.
A big one, yeah. A couple of Brinks trucks.
Well, I heard, I don't know if it's rumor, but did Devin Booker's girl break up with him?
No.
I think it
was there was
spreading rumors.
I think there was I think there was a 48-hour rumor cycle that was going around. That's not something that I do a lot of research on.
Well,
I heard that he likes blondes. Did you hear that?
Well, I saw him at Nobu, and I almost ran up to him and asked him. But
I'm happy that you didn't.
Good choice on your part that you did not. I'm sure there were several others that did. So,
but he
Good
did
on
sign
you.
a 4-year extension, right? So
Yeah,
he's going to be here for it's like
he
2028
got the
or something.
Supermax, and so look, he is the foundational piece. But when you look at the other core players that they have got who are 25 years or younger, I mean that's why I wasn't crushed when the whole KD thing didn't happen.
Well, I just thought that the chemistry might fall apart because we would have had to give up a few players to get him, A. And then B, who knows how his ego would have been with Booker, because Booker's kind of like, we think of him as the heart and soul of the team right
He's
now.
like the new Michael
would
Jordan.
he be okay? Would KD be okay with letting Booker still kind of being the guy on the team? I don't know.
Yeah, because as all the reports and rumors went, he wanted to come to Phoenix because of Book. He has such a high level of respect and admiration for Book. When they played on the Olympic team, and they've been friends for a number of years, but when they played on the Olympic team, I think that bond just grew stronger. And KD saw in everyday workouts, practices, and the games, like what Book is all about. So that's why he wanted to come here. So even had he come here, I didn't foresee any issues whatsoever.
So you think it would just be a great combination then?
Would be a fantastic combination. And KD is also a big fan of Monty Williams. So look, there were a lot of reasons to be optimistic. And if you were, if you're a Suns fan, you would have been thrilled to get that guy. But again,
I'm a big time Suns fan. I thought
I'm a
last
huge
year was
Suns
going to be
fan.
our year. Like,
This is a big deal.
you and me both.
We love the Suns. We love the Suns.
We love that you love the Suns. There's a lot to love about the Suns. So,
But I want to win this year. What can we do to win?
I signed up for winning. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna win. We're
do you
gonna
think
win.
losing JaVale McGee was a big piece? Because he put up pretty efficient numbers for how short of minutes he would play, and his defensive presence, because he's so big.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And JaVale is one of those losses that, you've got a healthy Dario Saric coming back, and Dario's been playing in the FIBA tournament right now. He's looked really good, and Dario is, Monty uses a phrase, connector. He's such a great connector and spacer of the floor. His teammates love him. Hard worker. So what you're losing in JaVale, you'll kind of regain with Dario. But yeah, JaVale I thought was a great addition to the team last year. Really sparked, an emotional fire with these guys that we hadn't seen the year before. And it's going to be interesting to see how, who evolves, if anybody, into that role.
Steps up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you had gone to home games or watched any of the telecast, but JaVale just had his own unique way of getting the guys fired up before they took the floor, and it became a fan favorite. They would show it on the big screen and everything. So we'll see who takes over that role. If
Yeah,
anybody.
exactly. I feel like he was adding that team chemistry that was you could tell was there last year. They had the franchise record for wins, so they were clicking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were right there, but just couldn't quite.
We're
seal the
excited
deal.
this season. When we get on that court, we're going to come looking for you.
Okay.
So
Come
who do
find
you,
me.
so who
Stay
do you
in the
think the
planet.
team?
One show at a
time.
So who do you think the teams are to get past in the Western Conference? And Dallas is, of course, going to be back and looking really good because Luka's only getting stronger each year.
Yeah. Well, you have to start first and foremost with the defending champs. I mean,
Yeah, the Warriors, yeah.
Golden State is Golden State, and
Yeah.
you saw last year the kind of value that they gained from those 2 bad years when all those young pieces were able to play big minutes, and they stepped up in the postseason. So you've got to start first off with Golden State, a team that I think some fans tend to forget about just because of last year, a little bit of a drop off. But the Clippers, by all accounts, will be fully healthy. So Kawhi Leonard, will be back. Paul George, is on that squad. So you have to look at them as a potential hurdle that you've got to clear. And then you pointed out Dallas, some of the moves that Dallas made. Interesting. We'll see if they can duplicate that effort. But
they popped into my head first PTSD from that last loss.
Yeah, well,
you're scary.
You're not alone. But you're absolutely right, Luka. I think Luka has figured out it's better to come to camp in shape than to come to camp, 20 pounds overweight and work your way back into shape, which pleases Jason Kidd. So you look at those teams, but Memphis is another team like Phoenix, young core that is only going to get better. So the West is an absolute, it is an absolute gauntlet. So,
well, I think the green room will be going to the games all together.
Okay.
And I think we will bet on every game.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
If
Works
you
for
have
me.
gambling addiction, call.
That's right. 1-800 in the green room.
When does the season start, though?
October 19th is the first regular season game. October 2nd is the first preseason game. So they got 2 home preseason games, the 2nd and the 12th, and then the season opener on the 19th, oddly enough, against, the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay, is that at home? Is that at home?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we
Season
should go to
and
the
home
season
opener.
opener.
So that's October 19th?
Yes.
My birthday's the next day. Okay, we'll celebrate my birthday.
So single game tickets went on sale today. So
All right, there we go.
Done.
There we go.
One and done. Yay. So tell us also, I know Monty Williams is supposed to be really gentle with his players. How do you feel about that?
I don't know if gentle would be the right word. Monty is a realist. I think that is the best way to describe it. He is a black and white guy in the sense of like he doesn't leave his players, lingering and wondering what the message is. He is very clear and very, very thorough in his message, to the players of what he expects from them in their given role and what he expects from the team as a collective. And, because Monty played in the league and understands, the challenges that players go through. And I'm sure he has seen and dealt with coaches who, were very vague maybe and weren't completely clear. And I think more than anything, Monty deals with them, man to man. He doesn't baby them, but tough love is really what he provides. And the players have such a level of respect and admiration for that because look, they've all played for guys or have known guys who've played with guys that send one message today and deliver another message tomorrow. And professional athletes deal with so many challenges to begin with. And if you can make their job easier as a coach just by being clear and concise, it makes everybody's world much, much better.
I can't remember what year it was, but didn't he lost his wife in a tragic car accident?
Yeah.
When
is.
Was
that was 2000, I believe, 2014-15 season. He was with Oklahoma City and had a young family, and he has been through and endured a lot.
I want to see him win.
Yeah,
I want to see him win.
And that's the thing, Monty is just such a likable human being, and then he's just a hell of a coach on top of that. But I've really enjoyed getting to know him as a person, in addition to knowing him as a coach. And like I said, you understand why the guys want to play so hard for him because of who he is and, what he means to the team, the organization, and the city. I mean, look, he and James Jones came in when the organization had been, adrift in the NBA abyss for, a decade.
Yeah, basically no playoff hope or championship hopes back then.
No, and James and Monty came in and have quickly, stabilized things, and now you see a real strong foundation and a blueprint for what they want to achieve, both short term and long term.
Well, getting back to that playoffs was just so huge. I remember, I don't know what year it was when your dad and I flew back from Lake Tahoe to go to the playoffs game, and Steve Nash was.
Oh yeah.
And I still have that
The
T-shirt.
7 seconds or less crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was so exciting. So
That was back when the Spurs or the Lakers would always take us out of the playoffs. Every
it was
single
the
year.
Spurs then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want it's going to happen. I don't know why. I feel like this year it's going to happen.
Put it out there.
Okay, we're going to win.
Right.
We're going to put
We're gonna win.
Put it out there.
If there's any cops listening, things betting big, baby.
I am. I'll never forget, we were on vacation, Chet. Do you remember this? Your dad speaks about it all the time. We were on vacation seeing my grandma in Toronto, and we were staying at the hotel that the Yankees were staying at. And I said to the coach at breakfast, Arizona, Randy Johnson, we're going to beat you guys.
Right.
And he goes, really? And I go, we're going to beat you guys. And we did. Your dad has brought that up a lot. So I'm making it happen. You put it out there. The Suns are going to win this year.
I like it. I like it.
We'll take it.
So I heard that you, or I read, didn't hear, that you are also involved with the Phoenix Open. Or the waste management. The golf.
Only as an attendee. They certainly don't let me on the golf course to play.
Do you do any commentating for that?
No, way back in the day when Cox Communications
Okay.
was running, I used to do some of the voiceover stuff, and then we used to do Phoenix Open specials that aired.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been probably 8-10 years since I've
Right.
been directly involved. So
One of Chet's best friends is Thomas Lehman. Tom
Oh, yeah.
Dad
right.
is the golfer. And then you were with the Mercury for 13 years. What was that like?
Oh, I love doing the Mercury games. For me as a play-by-play guy, and anybody in sports, it's no different than an athlete. You're trying to continue to work on your craft, and it's all about getting reps. And so when the WNBA came, it was the second year when I started doing the play-by-play and did it through 2016 season. So have a lot of wonderful friends still there. Getting a chance to call games of the GOAT Diana Taurasi for all those years, and some of the former players and current players who I consider dear friends, Taurasi among them. It was fantastic, part of the Suns organization.
So cool.
Yeah, so a chance to just continue to, like I say, get those reps, and the idea was get those reps, and you take that next step, and finally got that opportunity.
The Suns.
Doing the play-by-play with the Suns. Yeah.
Hey, how do you feel about the Brittany Griner thing?
It's
Scandal.
it's heartbreaking because there's no other way around it. She is being politicized because of her status in the sports world, and just in the world in general. I'm hopeful. I'm praying like everybody else that they can get it resolved, but it's very sad to see. And there's no doubt that the Mercury would have loved to have had Brittany this year, but I think everybody has moved past any kind of impact it will make on her as a player. I think at this point, everybody is more concerned about how this will affect her personally, because I think, if any of us were in that position,
Terrible.
you just don't know what kind of a long-lasting mental and emotional impact it can have on you. So,
Well, it's just a tiny mistake, and then
yeah, it's
It could happen to
when you're
anybody.
talking about
That's
world
horrible.
power, that's all it takes, unfortunately.
And nobody should be locked up for that. It's definitely called attention to that anybody
Right.
locked up for weed or nonviolent drug crimes, it's ridiculous.
well, it's a
Well,
medicine. It's a medicine.
But it just goes to show that we as Americans, really have to be in tune with what other countries' laws are, and we may not agree with them. But
we need to know them.
yeah, you
It's
really
true.
do. And look, I'll confess, I've traveled internationally, and how often do you look to see what what laws are, because in some countries there are laws for things that
Like litter.
Just-
if you litter, they chop your hand off or something.
right, and so
No, seriously.
it's crazy to think that you would have to educate yourself on situations like that, but you have to, whether you like it or not, you have to respect these are their laws, these are their rules that they live by, and because of the conflict that's going on essentially between the two countries, that's where the politicization, if I can spit that
That's a
out.
hard word to say, politicization.
Yeah, is Brittany has been caught up in the middle of it.
Right.
So
Prayers for her.
what is the future like right now with that? Are they still trying to negotiate her release?
Yeah,
or- okay.
but it's not something that, quite frankly, that any of us are going to hear about, I think, until it's actually done.
Are you friends with her?
I know Brittany, having done the games, before I wrapped up my Mercury career. But yeah, Brittany is a great person, great soul, and it's extremely unfortunate that she's caught up in this.
I've met her several times at local restaurants, and she's so nice.
Yeah, super,
Very nice.
super nice.
Very humble, very
Yeah.
down to earth. So we'll say some prayers for her.
So one question, do you have more fun broadcasting football or basketball? Which one do you think is more exciting?
Good question.
I get asked that a
That's
lot.
great question.
And my answer is both, because they are, the two sports are so uniquely different. Basketball obviously being inside, you're right there on top of the action, and with football, it's the National Football League. I mean, it is the best, highest professional league in football on the planet, and
Love it.
yeah, and so getting to call NBA and NFL games is a dream come true for me. I feel
Cheers.
incredibly grateful
Cheers,
and blessed and fortunate. So yes, it's fantastic. So I love doing both for for a variety of different reasons.
All right. So outside of sports, what are your dreams, and what are you looking to do? What do you do for fun outside of sports, or do you play sports? Like what's?
That's a good question. What are your
I mean,
passions?
I played sports all through high school.
What sports?
And all of them, football, baseball, basketball, ran track, played rugby for a year in college, played football for a year in college.
Wow.
And yeah, I just, for me, that's why I got into, to sports broadcasting, because, at some point reality sunk in that I was 6 foot and
Right.
180
Yes.
pounds and, didn't run a 4.240.
Yes.
So
That happened to my oldest son. He's about 5'10", really wanted to go to the NBA. I'm like, I don't think it's gonna
I want to
happen.
start looking at
He
other
was
life
amazing.
choices
Yes.
and career choices. But yeah, for me, I enjoy working out a lot. I've run in several Spartan races, the obstacle course racing. But in addition,
You look
the
like
mutter?
you're very fit.
I haven't done the mutter yet. I did the Spartan race, and in the last few years, because the NBA schedule has created conflict, so I've not been able to do that. But I've wanted to do, because unfortunately they always come to Phoenix in February, which
Right.
makes sense because of our weather here, but it's right in the middle of the NBA schedule. But I do. I'm with Ford Robert Black Talent Agency, so I do some
Of course you are.
additional work with that. Do some voiceover work, and for me, it's just about making sure that best dad that I can be to my 3 kids, and position
And their
them
ages?
for success. A soon-to-be 26-year-old, my daughter. Shout out for Devin, and my son is 22, Zach. And then my youngest just started her freshman year. In fact, today was her first day at NAU. So
Oh, wow.
Alexandra,
Congrats. Wow,
or
that's
Cookies, I like to
exciting.
call her when I want to embarrass her. So.
She's embarrassed right now.
She's fully embarrassed.
And are they into
That's awesome.
sports?
My oldest daughter played soccer for several years. Youngest played soccer for a few years, and then my son played soccer, football, played volleyball, but then he was in lacrosse for about 10, 11 years. So really
That
loved
is
lacrosse.
a brutal sport. I
It's a
played
great
that
sport.
for a little while back east, and just was like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah, such a great sport.
And your wife, obviously,
It's a great sport
is
to
into
watch.
sports.
Well, divorced. So,
Okay. So you're single.
I'm single
Wow.
with a girlfriend. So,
Cheers.
Cheers.
I was going to say, women out there, he's single, ready to mingle. Shoot, he's taken.
Sorry. But yeah, that's for me is my focus is, just continuing to do what I do with the Suns and the Cowboys and the other projects. But then, again, just try to, make sure my kids have a great world to continue to grow up in and set them up as best I can for success.
So you probably care about the planet for them because you want
Absolutely. And, I think that as all of us as parents have gotten older, probably over the last 4 or 5 years, unless you're just completely blind to it or choose not to look at it, you have tried to have conversations with your kids saying, this is stuff that all of us just, continue to take for granted. And unfortunately, we kind of left you guys a mess. And we, as an adult and parents, have to do our best to help clean some of that mess up.
Yes.
And again, set them up and set the planet up for success.
So what are some ways around your household do you find that you are saving the planet?
I guess it's just little things and the sense
Little things are important.
Yeah, but trying to be a good recycler. I have tried to cut back on water usage.
Good job.
Bought a home a couple of years ago. Has artificial grass in the front, but there is some grass in the back. But you kind of start making decisions on watering less and making decisions on days not to water. And again, it doesn't sound like much, but
that is a lot.
It's like we were talking before the show. It's like if everybody just pitches in a little,
that's right.
That all those littles combined can make a big difference. So
even seeing trash and picking it up, and if you're at the beach, picking up all that plastic and trying to use less plastic.
Yeah, trying to use less plastic. That is certainly one of the big steps. I try to avoid buying big packs of water bottles. And it's something that I worked really hard at with my kids to get them to just get the big coolers and just fill them up 3 or 4 times a day. But it's not always as convenient for everybody.
Well, let's get your daughter, the oldest one on the show here, pick her brain on what we can do.
There we go. There we go.
Seriously, I think that everybody can be doing just little tiny things like we talked about and make such a difference. And just when you think of carpooling, that's huge. Or repurposing, shopping at the Goodwill. Or, not washing your hair every day. Chet likes to tease me. I only wash my hair once a week.
Right.
Because it takes me like an hour and I use a lot of water. And David, how often do you wash your hair?
David's got a head of hair, so.
Yeah, I probably when I had long hair like David's, it was probably once a week.
Just about, yeah.
I would get in the shower every other day, but
yeah,
you don't
I
wash
do
your
like
hair that much.
physical labor, so there's like literal soap that'll embed themselves in it. So I try to do like 2-3 times a week max. But
see, so that's saving the planet.
Right. There you go.
Because I can take like a 3-minute shower if I don't wash my hair, but if I wash my hair, it takes a while.
Right. Little steps.
The little things do add up for sure.
They do add up. And then, I'm somebody that does like to eat beef, but I just eat it less.
Right.
And my grandma that just passed away at 105 and a half, that was thriving, healthy, happy, joyous until a few days before she died. She ate everything in moderation. So I know these people that say, oh, you have to go vegan or you can't live long.
The more important thing is that you're sourcing the beef from a sustainable source where it's like grass-fed beef and it's not just those commercial farming. It makes a big difference if you try to source products like that are sustainable. So
I love it.
If you do demand to eat something like beef or animal products, just source them from high quality sources that are doing it ethically.
Like our diva we're drinking here. Cheers to Sam Pillsbury.
That's right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sam.
Sam Pillsbury.
Yeah. We're supporting local wine here.
Chet, tell us a little bit about Sam Pillsbury.
Well, I'd rather talk about Pillsbury Wines, give him a plug on his company, but it's really cool that they're local. They're in Wilcox, Arizona, and he's just a true He's truly obsessed with the craft. He's a man of passion. He doesn't care about the profit at all compared to the
He doesn't. He really doesn't.
He's obsessed. And I think that those are the people that make the best products or play the best basketball are the people that are really obsessed. And like Devin Booker, he's obsessed. You can see it.
Yes.
He's got that Mamba mentality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching a clip earlier today. Chris Paul had a camp for...
Love Chris Paul.
Yeah. Shout out to CP3.
Chris Paul.
He's been such a great addition to this team.
Amazing.
But he holds an annual camp for some of the top, high school players across the country. And he was speaking to the young players, which I even did a retweet saying, this is what every, young NBA aspiring high school basketball player needs to listen to, because he talked about the difference between loving the game, loving to play, and liking it. And there are a lot of guys, and whether it's the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, there's a lot of guys that are supremely blessed with the genetics and talent that they have, but they just like the game, whatever that game is. They love the money, they love the trappings, they love all that comes with it, but they don't necessarily love the game. And that is why when you look at the collection of talent that's on the Suns team, it is all guys, and it's by design. It's not by mistake, but because James and Monty identify guys who love to play the game. They call them gym rats, and it doesn't matter whether you're making $1 million, 33 million, they're going to be in there working on their craft. And that's what Chris was communicating to this young group of players, and it's so important, because at the end of the day, that love oftentimes is what will help you take that final step, of being successful in whatever sport.
In any work that you're doing, anybody out there, your passion is going to show.
Right.
And I'm so passionate about the show. I want to work 24/7.
Right.
Meeting people and getting them on.
That's why it doesn't feel like
I do it for free.
Right. For me, getting to do NBA and NFL games, it's not work. As I tell people, I've worked for a living. I worked for my uncle's construction company. I worked on a hay crew when I was in high school. So that's work. That's physical labor. What I get to do is not. I don't consider it a job.
Sounds like you love what you do too, then.
Absolutely.
So is a hay crew like a greeter where you just go, hey?
The Walmart greeters. Yeah.
I would have been happy to been leading that hay crew. No, this was walking the fields back in the day and picking up hay bales.
While we're on the topic of Chris Paul, how many years left do you think we have with him in this little core team we have?
37. Chris is 37. I mean,
he's a baby.
How old was Michael Jordan when he retired?
First time or second time?
First time.
Yeah. So Michael, I believe, walked out of the league for the final time when he was 38. I believe that is correct. 37, 38. But Michael had a lot of miles on that body. And the game was played, very differently.
Much more physical back then.
Much more physical. But you look at Chris, the way he's taking care of his body, and I know it's been heartbreaking for all of us, certainly for him. The timing of his injuries have not been great the last couple of years in the playoffs. But
such bad luck with that.
2 more years left on the contract, and I fully expect him to honor that and play it out. So
do you think Devin Booker is the Michael Jordan?
No, because there's only one Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's only one Kobe Bryant. There's only, and Devin is quick to point out there were some people who I think it was last year that kind of took what Devin had said about Kobe, because Devin and Kobe had a very tight relationship. When Devin, his rookie year, in his first 2 years, Kobe could see kind of that white hot fire that we were talking about with Devin, how much he loved the game and how much he wanted to work on his game. And so Kobe, kind of took him under his wing. And so Devin learned a lot of those Mamba mentality principles that we often hear. And he was making a comment, and people then kind of spun that into, Devin Booker thinks he's Kobe Bryant, and Devin was quick to point out, like, I'm not Kobe Bryant. Never said I was Kobe Bryant. I try to live and play the game with the same kind of, absolute passion and fervor that Kobe Bryant did.
He seems to have a similar competitive edge.
He completely, yeah.
And he's young. He could still get up there like Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
How old is he?
Devin's 25.
25. Because I've met him. I'm not going to say which Starbucks he goes to, but he's so nice. He's so nice. He's so nice, and he's so humble when we walk up. But I left him alone at Nobu.
She probably just saw some guy that looked like Devin Booker break
no.
up with a woman that looked like the Kardashians. She's like, oh wait,
No,
Devin Booker broke up with the
Stone.
Kardashians.
I was with Steve Stone, and he goes, "There's Devin Booker," and I jumped up. Boom.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, Book is he's good people.
He's very good people.
Very good people. Yeah.
And he clearly loves Phoenix because he signed that extension. So
Right.
it seems like he really wants to stay here, and he loves that he's kind of like the hometown hero.
As he said, from early on, he's like, I want to bring this city and this team a championship.
And hopefully Chris Paul, too.
It's gonna happen
He needs
now.
one.
Yeah.
I said it's going to happen right here.
Sometimes you have to really struggle and endure some pain before you get to taste the wine or the champagne, so to speak. So,
Yes. What's his background, Devin Booker? I don't know. I should have read up on that.
Background in regards to, he grew up in Michigan and then ended up moving to Mississippi to live with his father because his father, Melvin, played professionally both in the NBA and overseas.
Really? Okay.
And Melvin was a terrific player, Big 12 Player of the Year back when he was playing at the University of Missouri. And Melvin, there's a reason that the book is good people because of Melvin and Devin's mother. But he ended up moving to Mississippi to live with his father because it was going to be best for his basketball career. And that's when he started playing as, I think he was like maybe 11 or 12. And Book was, open gyms running with guys who were 27 to like
Really?
35. And
Wow.
because his dad had him out there playing against these, these old heads, they like to call them. And his dad would never step in, like if there was, and there's always like some jawing, some pushing and shoving, and so it was that tough love from his father Melvin that really taught Devin the game both mentally and physically, and it's to me the foundational part of his game that has separated him from a lot of other players in the league.
It's so interesting how parents have such a important role. Look at.
And that's so interesting to hear that he used to go against bigger guys because he's only like 6'5", right? But you'll still see him attack a defender who's 5 inches taller than him. You can tell he's just fearless with the ball.
Completely fearless. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. That was taught to him when he was 11 and 12 years old, and his dad is like, okay, if you're
going to play with the big boys,
you're going to play with this is I'm not going to step in and be your savior here, and so he learned how to navigate those challenges at a very early age.
Well, sometimes you have these parents that are kind of push and channel the kid, and maybe the kid doesn't have the passion, and then they end up like, for example, Chet and Rachel, my kids, their passion for their sports that they both did because they both ended up with a scholarship for D1 sports, they were self-driven. Neither parent was like pushing them to do it.
Right.
And they were just self-driven. But sometimes we'd see the parents that were pushing their kid to do it, and then they ended up
Well,
quitting.
this goes back to that what we were talking about earlier, that you have to love what you're doing.
Exactly.
To be passionate and
Exactly.
obsessed, it has to come from within. If someone else is
Exactly.
telling you, or if it's because of money or fame or something like that, you're not going to have that same edge, that same obsession. So
Right.
Yeah, and unfortunately it's what you see with some parents. They see the kind of financial end game that could be in play for them, not so much their child.
Right.
And that's why you see kids unfortunately get burned out at an early age because their parents have been pushing them, and at some point the kid just loses the desire, the love, to
Yes.
play whatever sport it is.
Yes, it's so true. I know that Chet actually played on one of his teams with Randy Johnson's son, and Randy Johnson never was like pushing his kids to do the sports. I feel
Which
like,
I completely believe. Randy's just not wired that way.
He's such a great guy.
Yeah, very, very good guy. Great photographer, by the way.
Yes, with rock bands.
He's amazing photographer. Which I remember hearing this towards the tail end of his career that he was big, and I was like, Randy Johnson, but
not the first guy you'd expect.
He's got a great eye. So.
He loves like Metallica and that kind of stuff.
Yes,
it's great.
yeah.
We got to get him in the art gallery, Andrea.
The camera's got to be tiny in his hands. His hands are so big.
Right.
Well, I once again, passion is where it needs to stem from.
Mm-hmm.
Are any of your kids passionate about sports?
Well, my son is extremely passionate about the Phoenix Suns.
There you go.
He lives and dies with the Suns. So Game 7 was incredibly difficult on him, as it was, all of us. But
did you bring him to the game?
Pardon?
Do you bring him to every game?
He tries to come to pretty much every game.
Nice.
Work schedule doesn't always accommodate, but I would say 90% of the games, Zach Ray will be there. So
nice.
Right, one question I have for the new additions to the team this year, who do you think is going to be like the best and brightest new addition to the team?
Good
the most
question.
passionate new player that we have?
Good question.
I look at a guy like Josh Okogie, who comes over from Minnesota and gives them another good on-ball physical defender that I think will plug in nicely with Monty in the system.
That'll be huge.
Yeah.
He's a great addition.
Yeah, I like that.
So all time, who do you think is one of your favorite players outside of Michael Jordan?
Oh,
in basketball and football.
Basketball and football.
And baseball.
Boy, wow, we're going to throw them all out there.
Do you like baseball? We didn't ever really talk about baseball.
Baseball, I will say hands down George Brett, because I grew up outside of Kansas City, a huge Royals fan growing up. Got to go to a bunch of games, and went to the World Series in '85 when they won it. So I am a huge George Brett fan.
Really?
So he will forever be my favorite Major League player.
Are you still a Royals fan?
Yeah. I cheer for the Diamondbacks, obviously, because it's a hometown team. But, one's an American League, the other's the National League, so that makes it easy.
So if they were against each other, who would you root for?
Good question.
Oh.
Before you answer that, our dear friends, Pedro Griffel, he's one of the coaches. His wife, Allie, is one of my best friends.
Okay.
And they're just amazing people.
Right.
So before you answer that, they'll be listening to this.
That would be a tough one for the Diamondbacks and Royals. Let me put it this way: it is a series that I couldn't lose.
Yeah, there you go.
Funny story. During the World Series, the Royals won. What year was that? The recent one?
85 and then 2016.
Okay, so in 2016, Allie called me, and one of their daughters had to rush off and go to the airport and go to the game. And she left the car in front of the Optima, and they were painting the building. And she called me and she said, "Pedro's going to turn on the car. Can you go and move it?" And so I was like, "I'm about to watch the game." And she goes, "Please go move the car."
Just please move the car. That's funny.
Isn't that funny?
One question I have, how do you think the Lakers are going to be this year? Because
good question.
They were you would assume any team with LeBron is going to be good, but...
Well,
they weren't really there that last year.
Yeah, but look, and LeBron will go down hands down as one of the greatest players. A lot of people like to argue that he is the greatest, having supplanted Michael Jordan, but that's for them to argue about.
Well, it's the rings versus stats argument, basically.
Well, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like picking your favorite kid.
Not at all.
No, it is.
But I think
it's more like picking your favorite parent. Maybe.
That's easy.
But I think what we saw last year with LeBron is that and he had statistically one of the best years of his career. At 37. But what we saw is that at 37. He could no longer just lift an entire team on his back. And that's also a testament to just how good and deep the rest of the NBA is. But the Lakers will go as both LeBron and AD go. They've got a rookie head coach, but I think Darvin Ham will be a nice selection and a nice addition for them as head coach. But he's got at the moment, a tough locker room to try and navigate. And I think until they can figure out who is going to be in what role, it will be a very interesting year for the Lakers. But if AD is healthy and plays more than 60 games, because he hasn't the last...
They could still be a contender.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll contend for a championship, but they will certainly contend for a playoff spot.
Yeah, because everybody right now is just talking Warriors, Mavericks, Clippers, Suns. Mm-hmm. But Lakers, they still have AD and LeBron, so
right.
They're not nobody.
Yeah, you don't sleep on them because they've got LeBron and they've got AD. But again, AD has just not been able to stay healthy, and
there's been a lot of chemistry issues too.
Yeah.
And are there any huge up and coming college players that are like we need to get for the Suns?
Well, who
are we going to pick?
When you look at the Suns, they're not going to pick high in the NBA draft because they'll probably win somewhere between 57 and 64 games again next year. So you're going to be picking at the bottom end of the draft. And if you've watched James Jones the last couple of years, because of their win total, you're not going to find somebody at 27 or 28 or 29 or 30 who's going to help your team. So for the next few years, I would just tell fans, you just kind of keep a casual eye on the NBA draft, but there's nobody out there that's going to be a difference maker for your team.
Well, every now and then a late pick will randomly bloom late and then become a superstar, but usually it takes a few years in the league for them to develop to that point.
Yeah, and the problem is when you're talking about a young player on a veteran team, they're just not going to see the minutes.
Exactly.
And so that's why oftentimes those players, yes, they'll have a chance to start and play a ton of minutes. But, well, I mean, look at Devin Booker. He got his brains beat in for his first 2 years of his career, but it just made him that much better that once they got some other pieces around him, he was able to take
look
off
at
that
Kurt
flourish.
Warner. How old was he when he finally got his start?
Oh, right. Yeah. Kurt,
he lived like 6 houses away from us for like years.
Feel-good stories. I mean, playing in the, Arena Football League, the Iowa Barnstormers, and, finally get somebody to pay attention to him. So.
I mean, did you see the movie? It's a great
yes.
movie.
Yeah. It's a fantastic movie.
Total love story, and they're the nicest people.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, what's going to happen on the first game? What's the play-by-play?
With the Suns?
Yes.
Well, I mean, a win, obviously.
That's what I wanted you to say.
I mean, I don't think any other way. A win, for sure.
That's perfect. And do these games, do you bring your girlfriend? Is that okay to ask that?
Sure. When
is she there? Can we see her? We're gonna look for her now.
When she is able to go, she goes to some of the games. So.
Is she sitting right next to you?
No, she does not get to sit right next to me. Eddie Johnson, gets to sit right next to me. So got my guy EJ.
And what's Tom Chambers like?
Oh, TC is the best. I mean, it's one of the other reasons why I love my job because of the people that I get to work with, and I've worked with all these guys for 20 plus years because before I did the play-by-play, I did the Suns TV pre- and post-game show. So TC and I used to work, together as co-hosts on the show. So I've known Tom and EJ for 20 plus years. So, when you get a chance to work on a nightly basis with guys I consider, dear friends, it just makes your job, it's like getting to do your show,
it's
right?
So much fun.
When you get to do something you love with the people you love hanging out with.
Yes. It's always fun.
Yeah.
How about Charles Barkley? Because I think he's amazing.
Chuck's the best.
That whole TNT crew is so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they are.
I love Charles Barkley.
They should be the Charles Barkley comedy show.
Do you know Charles Barkley well?
I do. Yeah, Charles is a guy that I consider a friend, and had a chance to cover him back in the day when I was just first starting here in the Phoenix marketplace. But he's the best.
He's great.
He just says it like it is.
Love it.
And
love it. No filter. I love it.
He has turned that into an absolute gold mine in his broadcasting career.
That is true. He knows how to get some attention on himself.
He does, and it's funny because it's not contrived. I mean, when he says something, it is real. I mean, he believes it, and it's just because of how he says it.
Right.
Because he's not going to dance around or walk on eggshells. He's just going to tell you exactly like it is. Okay.
And the world could use some more of that because nowadays everybody else is trying to just.
Right.
Funny story about Charles Barkley. Your dad. We were married for a long time, like 28 years, and the day that he had just given me my ring, and I had just gotten my hair done, and the ring was new, and I didn't want to get it dirty, and that was the last time I took it off. But actually, there was one more incident where I lost it. But anyway, I was sitting in the car about to meet my in-laws, my future in-laws, and his uncle and the brother-in-law and all these people. And I took my ring off to like fix my hair and like put on some lipstick. I'm in the car, and I jump out of the car, and my ring falls onto the parking lot, right there. And so I run in to meet the in-laws and my ex, and they're all like, "Where's the ring?" Uncle Brian's like, "Where's the ring?" And Charles Barkley's like in the bar, like right over here. That I'll get to that. So I show them the ring, but the ring's not there. And Charles Barkley's listening to all this, and I'm like, "The ring! I dropped it!" I go running, and there it is, right by the car. And of course, your dad was he was nice because we were still dating then. But anyway, your dad's a sweetheart. So I go running back in, and Charles wanted to see the ring because he heard the whole story. And
right.
It's kind of funny. So
it's a nice little way to introduce yourself to Charles.
Yeah.
The only I saw him in a bar and he accidentally spilled a drink on me and he said it was sorry. That's the only interaction I've ever had with him.
It's awesome when whether it's professional athletes or celebrities, it's awesome when they're nice to fans and have those interactions, because you hear about some that have egos and aren't nice. And
really?
I've heard a lot of people having good interactions with Charles. I've never gotten to meet him. But I've gotten to meet Shaq like a few times before, and he's just so friendly and so nice.
Shaq is so sweet.
Yeah.
What a sweetheart. That's a funny story. Do you want to tell that story about the big shoe?
Well, I've met him a few times. So there's 3 or 4 stories.
You've met him like 5 stories.
Right.
5 times.
Long story short, he's a great guy and so friendly, so nice to fans. Couldn't be more friendly. And, you love to see that because it's not that common.
Well, it's just, where fans kind of lose sight and don't understand is like, these guys are people just like us. And so when they're sitting having dinner with their family or, having drinks at a bar with their friends, it's the fans who go up and just interrupt them.
When they're taking a bite of food.
Yeah, who don't show respect. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then what, inevitably happens is you will get the kind of response that you would get if any of us were interrupted at dinner with our friends or family by somebody saying, well, what are you doing? But then it turns into something negative for them because they didn't, extend a hand and, stand up and take the selfie with them and sign 3 autographs. And that's where fans, really need to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny because celebrities do get treated differently. I'm not going to mention the name of the restaurant, but it was my mom's.
Well, yeah, but sometimes it can be positive, sometimes it can be negative. So there is a spectrum to it.
This is kind of a funny story. A restaurant that I would frequent often, I never go there anymore. It was my mom's birthday, and I actually had 2 dinner dates of 2 different guys. I was like, just
being a player.
Yeah, being a little player. and I was with my mom, and there were 2 people in town. So we had one dinner plan at one restaurant, and then like an hour later at another restaurant.
You took your mom to both dates?
Yes.
That's not a date then. That's a weird interaction.
That's back in the 1800s as a chaperone.
Yeah, that's not a date anymore. That's torture for whoever you told it was a date.
Well, anyway,
that's what that is.
This is kind of a funny story. So Alice and Cheryl Cooper are good friends of mine, and they were coming into the restaurant of where we were sitting at the table, and this guy from Montana, we just had ordered the wine. It was taking longer, and we have to get over to this other restaurant. The restaurant we were kicked out of, I'm not going to say the name, but we had to get Tommaso's. And so all of a sudden, the owner of this restaurant, she comes up and she goes, "I'm so sorry, we need to take this table." Well, it's because Alice and Cheryl Cooper were just arriving, and I said, "It's my mom's birthday." She said, "Well, you said you're only going to take the table for an hour because you had another plan." I said, we just got the wine. We just ordered the appetizer. She goes, "I'm sorry, we need this table." And so I was like, "I'm never coming here again." It was so embarrassing. We jumped up, and my mom is holding the wine bottle. We're like holding on these wine glasses.
Oh my goodness.
And we're up at the podium, and in walks Alice and Cheryl Cooper. And I'm like, they're like, "What are you guys doing here?" Because it was awkward. There's nowhere, you're not supposed to be right there. And I said, "I don't know." They said somebody was coming, some celebrity was coming, we had to go.
And it was them.
And I'm hugging them, and she saw that I knew them. It was funny. And None of us have been back ever.
That's funny. I bet she aged about 5 years at that time, like,
or more. Yeah.
I messed up.
We really screwed this one up.
I've never.
All right, we
heard
just
that.
got about 20 seconds left.
That's all we have left.
Yeah, it's almost
like
time.
Really?
5 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, we got. Well, if you want to go the full hour.
Which part is the time?
We're at minute
54
55.
So we're at 54.
Yeah.
Okay, because we
55.
want to go about 55. So
Well, we've done 55, so that was a great show.
Thanks for coming.
say we'll have one show at a time. Bye bye.
Wait, watch the Suns. They're going to kill it this year.
That's right. In the green room. Green.
Thank you so
Team
much.
Chetty, yes, it's more
Thank you
fun.
for having me. It's been a
Thank you,
blast.
everybody.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's been
Appreciate
a
it.
great season this year.
We'll
Thank
have you
you.
on again with your kids
Perfect.
and save the planet one show at a
One
time.
show at a time, and we're out of here.
All right.
We're always surprised, like, oh, it's the end.
Well, I love that David does that, but you
Fly
need to
by.
teach me which one.
Yeah.
Because you're the only engineer that does that.
Yeah.